Hello, everybody. We are the Geeks and the Genets. I am Enzo. This is my forever co-host, John. Today, we start our April Fool's lineup. If you guys are new here, that's what we usually do. Right after Holy Week, sometimes. It's my theme, apparently. But yeah, today we talk about a classic. I think it's a classic because it's 20 years old. So I think it's about time. I think it's reached its prime to be called a classic, which is Anchorman: The Legend of Ron Burgundy. I don't know how long this video will be or how short it will be, but there are a lot of things, there are a lot of jokes we cannot repeat. But yeah, but
Oh,
if you're watching this video and you know Anchorman, it stars Will Ferrell as Ron Burgundy. It's directed by Adam McKay, who goes on to direct other classical comedy movies like Step Brothers, Talladega Nights, and later goes on to direct Don't Look Up and The Big Short. So we're like, wow, this director is brilliant. I don't think I've seen the movie that I don't like from him. Not yet, at least.
yeah. Like, say what you will, like, these are a cat. I don't know. Would they count as raunchy or, like, the golden era of raunch comedy? Like, before like, what was it? Super Bad and, like,
I guess so, but when you, for me, when you say raunchy, I really think like more of Borat or the Team America. Like that's a super raunchy. I don't know what's raunchy for you, to be honest.
alright. But, like, for me, like, I will say, we will have to admit, this is a product of its time. We understand some of the jokes here are very inappropriate nowadays, and
Yeah.
I will say some of them aren't that funny. I will admit. Like, now rewatching it, you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, we have to admit that. I will say, I do miss this side of comedy when when the jokes do hit and they're like tastefully done. I'm like, I
Yeah.
miss it when SNL was like this.
Yeah.
You could tell a bit of flavor of SNL was in here, especially in like Talladega Nights and Step Brothers. I'm like, yeah, I like that, and you could tell that majority of this was improv.
Yeah.
It's so fucking funny.
I like these jokes are designed to showcase the time they're in and how much of a fools Ron Burgundy and the rest of his crew are. Because let's not kid
Yeah.
ourselves, this entire work area is pretty sexist and misogynist, and
I
that's
think that
where
was the. Yeah, sorry.
that's why Veronica comes in and shakes up their whole world. And there's like a woman in an Anchorman space. How could that be?
It's Anchorman,
Yeah,
not Anchor. Like, okay. I think if you do watch this and you do get offended by it, just know that that is the point of like the entire situation. Is that this is a very satire, very over exaggerated version of somewhat the real world.
yeah, of
Not
the
somewhat. It is the real world, like of like
the
showbiz.
80s. Like
Yeah.
this is set in the 80s, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that was rampant back in the day. But of course, over exaggerated with like the fights they had with like Vince Vaughn. You're like, yeah, I don't think that's legal. That shouldn't be legal in the first place. Christ Almighty,
Well,
people die.
Like it's just such a star-studded cast, but only they're there for like maybe a split second. Like we got Andy Dufresne, we got Ben Stiller,
Yeah,
uh, we get Vince Vaughn. Who else did we get? Like,
Andy Dufresne,
Yeah.
Tim Robbins was in this.
yeah,
Right. Ah, shit. I forgot
he
about
was
it.
the guy who pushed Veronica over.
Oh shit.
I was so shocked. I was
That's
like,
why
what the hell?
his eyes are so. I'm like, man, your eyes are so deep. I just can't remember who you are, or where else I've seen you in. But yeah, you also have Keith David as the narrator for this whole
Oh
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I do love him from Halo, and where else was he from? Princess and the Frog. That's all I can remember, really.
Wait, Keith David.
He's Arbiter in Halo.
Ah, right. Forgot about that.
Yeah. But yeah, Jack Black's here too. Has one small
Yeah,
cameo that
Yeah, he just kicks a ton of a bird.
such a small cameo, but devastates for Ron Burgundy because the dog's the only thing he has.
I fucking love- He's like at the payphone, he's just losing his shit.
I'm in the goddamn some emotion, and then Paul Rudd's like, those are not words. Can you speak English?
I love it. He's like, talk to me, buddy. Just talk to me. He's just like, oh god, this movie's fucking great. Like, if you could pass the untasteful jokes of like the product of its time kind of deal, this is a good time, especially if you're drunk. Like, not in no sense of like it's so bad you have to be drunk. It's more of like the fun factor will be amplified.
Yeah.
If you were intoxicated.
Yeah, and again, it just shows how much of idiots the whole team is, because you're like, you guys are just exaggerating at this point, especially like someone like Chief and Paul Rudd. You're like, Jesus Christ, you guys are the worst.
Not gonna lie, I keep forgetting Paul Rudd is here. Like, he's such a he has like a good amount of screen time, but like I keep forgetting that's Paul Rudd.
Right?
Like, even like, what was it called, the Panther?
Yeah, oh god.
It was like, that is straight up gasoline.
Right? Like, I got a bit of Panther in it, and you're like, how is that supposed to smell good? Since they produce like musk to warn off enemies.
Yeah. And it was like 60% of the time it works every time. I was like, that doesn't make sense, but alright.
Sure, buddy. We also have Steve Carell as Brick, and sometimes you're like, oh, that's kind of adorable. Other times you're like, wow, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, they do say the R word here a lot.
Yeah.
So, mind that. That scene where it's just like, Brick, where'd you get the hand grenade? He was like, I don't know. And they're like mid-fight, he's just screaming while holding the grenade. What's this much shit?
Straight up kills a man too. You're like, damn, Brick. For a guy
that's where the meme like that escalated quickly came from.
Yeah. For a guy who loves Lamb so much, he sure escalates things to like 100.
Yeah, he does.
I do like the bickering between Ron Burgundy and Veronica when she like gets his position and he's like, but it's my show. The spotlight's on me. How can this be? I'm speaking in like paraphrases because I cannot repeat the jokes that are said here. I really can't. I wish I could.
But I do love the banter between them. Like, again, it's very like, it's not very PC when you try to say these, but like,
yeah.
Even in the outtakes, like the bloopers, they're like improving their insults to each other, and I was just dying laughing. I was like,
yeah, you can see how great at comedy Will Ferrell is. You're like, damn, I kind of missed you when you were still in the spotlight doing more comedies. I don't know what he's doing right now. I think he
was in the Barbie movie.
Yeah, he was in Barbie, and that's about it. You're like, I thought this guy was everywhere at one point. So is the rest of this cast. You're like, I thought you guys were everywhere. Like Steve Carell. Steve Carell's still doing stuff, and Paul Rudd obviously is in the MCU. Yeah, I know.
Ghostbusters.
I know Christina Applegate is retired because she unfortunately she has scoliosis, so that limits her. Yeah, that limits her acting capability, unfortunately. But I think she's doing well overall, despite that. But yeah, like you said, I too don't recognize Paul Rudd because I'm so used to you being Scott Lang, being this nice, wholesome guy, and here you're being sexist, and you're like, oh.
Like a very sleazy. Like, remember the scene where they all tried to flirt with her, and I always immediately like, I don't want to look.
Yeah, you're like, please stop talking, especially you, Paul Rudd. Why?
No, not Paul Rudd. It was the other guy. I forgot his name.
Champ. The guy with the...
Yeah, where he like unintentionally
gropes
yeah,
her.
what's that? Yeah, and I was like,
yeah, you're like,
I was like, I couldn't watch. I was like,
and she just
low
blows him.
Like cathartic, though. Yeah, where she like hits him in the nuts.
Yeah. But yeah, I do like the opposite ends. Like, you see the softer side of at least Ron Burgundy and especially Champ, where Champ's like, I can't live without you. Ron, come back. Like, what?
It's a tad bit suspicious already. I'm like, this man's a bit sus.
Yeah.
Like, what's he trying to say?
Right? You're like, I like these undertones.
Remember Brick? He's like, Brick, come here, buddy. Like, as if he was a dog.
Right.
It was so funny.
Yeah, sometimes you're like, that's kind of adorable. Other times you're like, wow, this is horrible. the 2000s were a mixed bag of comedy, either comedy gold or comedy that definitely does not age well, like the big blowout scene between Ron and Veronica, and you're like, I can't say this anywhere in real life. And especially when Ron's like, why don't you go back to it? And then you complete the sentence, you're like, oh god, shit.
Dude, what made me die though was like her going, well, you have
Bad hair.
and it zooms in into his eyes and it explodes. And he like lashes out on her.
Yeah.
That was the breaking point.
Yeah, you're like, you've said much worse. But sure, your hair's your Achilles tendon, apparently.
Yeah.
I do like how it all culminates, even though I don't think there's enough closure, because he's not like, hey, you ruined my career. But I guess this is the end of the movie, and we're all supposed to make out at this point. Sure, why not?
Yeah. It is weird, like, how him and, like, Veronica, like, came to be, too. Is that, like, for some reason she was attracted to him, but the entire time Ronald's just been, like, a straight-up weirdo and a creep.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, he's cute, just calm down. I'm like, wait, where did this come from?
Right? You're like, huh. I guess that's the 2000s mentality of like, I guess this is how it works. And now looking back, you're like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to work at all.
Yeah,
but sure,
but,
2000s.
Like, it's a comedy, so you're not really supposed to take it seriously. So I'll just accept it.
Yeah. Again, I don't know. I think this might be a short video because I can't really go beat for beat or repeat the jokes or really go that deep.
Look, it's just. Look, they just have a happy ending, right?
Yeah.
Like, they have this whole Coach Carter.
Right? Vince Vaughn's like, I hate you, but I respect you. Like, sure, buddy.
Like he's almost, like, tosses him back into, the bear,
Yeah,
like,
closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Keith David narrates what happens after, and, like, Brick becomes a presidential advisor, and you're like, you know what? That makes sense. Why not?
For this fucking movie, yeah, why not?
Yeah. I mean, you have a sense that he might be a genius somewhere, even though the movie's so mean to him. And you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
Good for you, Brick. And Will Ferrell and Veronica are like the anchors for like the entire U.S. And I'm like, I thought it was by state, but sure. Why not?
Yeah. What did they call it? Like national or something? I forgot. Network?
I don't know. I forgot how the news works. I only read it through the internet nowadays.
Same here. Yeah, we don't really watch news.
Yeah. I mean, the paper still gets delivered to my place, but that's about it.
Really? You're still subscribed to Star?
Enquirer.
Enquirer. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It still gets delivered to our house. Because my mom wants to read it. I was like, you know what? Sure. Why not?
Alright, you know, your mom's old-fashioned. Why not?
Yeah.
It's only like a peso.
Yeah, at this point, sure.
Yeah.
Versus subscribing to it, you're like, I'd rather just pay for the physical thing.
Alright.
But yeah, we're getting off track. But for this classic movie, that is Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, what would you rate it?
I will say this movie does not age well. Like there are some scenes here where that was like, ooh, that's not okay. And some of the jokes here I don't find funny, I have to admit. But when the jokes land, they hit hard. And that's what I love. And it does bring me back to classic SNL.
Yeah.
And I do miss it when jokes had a little, like, had no boundaries from time to time. Like, if they're able to, like, tastefully deliver it and make it funny, that's when I'm like, very good job.
Yeah.
And I pretty much die laughing. But I will say this one I would say is a classic. Like, it does not age well, but it is a classic. I would give it like a 7.
Okay.
Like, enjoyment factor, I'll give it a 7. It's like not the best comedy in the world, but it's there and it's funny, and like I remember watching it like mid high school and I was like, I didn't know jokes can be like this.
Right. I'll go one step above. I'll give it an 8 just because I do like the improv a lot. Like, it just shows how skilled everyone is, from Will Ferrell to Christina Applegate to, of course, Paul Rudd and Steve Carell. Even though Steve Carell barely says anything, and you're like, oh, there's a reason for that, and it's horrible. Okay. But yeah, it's a classic, a flawed classic, but classic nonetheless. And if you want to watch it, why not? But if this is not your thing, that's also pretty valid. So if you want to search for other comedy somewhere else, that's fine too. But yeah, as you mentioned, you don't find comedy like this anymore, and for the most part, there's a good reason. And for other parts, you're like, I kind of miss when they would toe the line between that's a bit too much, or at the same time that is utterly hilarious. Like there's a fine line people walk. Like someone like Bill Burr walks that line of like, or Ricky Gervais, where you're like, wow, you are really towing that line pretty well.
You're like,
yeah.
Where I do love like when Ricky Gervais just goes ham with this like infamous Oscar host, like when he hosted the Oscars, and that was like the epitome of like the man was tightroping it the entire time, and he did not care.
Yeah, you've seen people like John Mulaney and Ricky Gervais walk that tightrope, and then you've seen other comedians walk that tightrope too this year, and you're like, wow, you don't walk it that well at all. Nah.
They fell, especially a certain comedian who's a heartthrob. Man, that guy fell. I don't know if you know that guy, but like he's on Netflix.
Oh,
did not so well.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a comedian that comes from the Philippines, or just Phil Am.
Eh.
Yeah. Anyway, for the audience watching and to you too, what's your favorite SNL driven movie? That's driven by an SNL cast.
Damn. I would say Anger Management.
Oh.
Andy Samberg. Not Andy Samberg, sorry. Adam Sandler.
Oh, I was about to say, because sworn it was Adam Sandler. Okay. I will go with a classic since the new movie is releasing this year. I would go with Ghostbusters.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Forgot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah. But yeah, that's been our video for Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. What do you guys think? What's your favorite comedy from this era? If you'd like to see more of us, please like our video, subscribe to the channel, and ding the bell icon to get notified of when we upload next. We're also on Spotify and TikTok to see our best and funniest videos and our reaction to the latest trailers. Spotify to hear us on the go. Individually, I am Zoda's Voices on TikTok and EnsWolf on Letterboxd. Where can I find you?
Oh, you can find me at JomGM_ on Instagram, and this is my article.
And until the next one, we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Ciao.